This is a character who, when you first meet him, makes you feel safe. Like somehow, someway, when everything is going wrong, he'll always find a solution. This is Dutch van der Linde. To the van der Linde gang, he's a man who values individual freedom above all else. Someone who dreams of a truly independent life. But when he begins to realize that the future he promised the gang is no longer realistic, something starts to change.
Wake him up a little!
In a world that's rapidly evolving, where outlaws are becoming extinct, we watch the gang go from what once felt like a strong family unit standing together through hard times to a demoralized group of people simply trying to survive. And all of it traces back to their leader. Today, we're gonna talk about how Dutch didn't believe he was falling behind the world. He believed the world was wrong for leaving him behind, and everyone around him paid the price. This unfortunate descent truly begins right after the Blackwater job. Hosea Matthews and Arthur Morgan had already secured what felt like a clean escape, a riverboat plan involving stolen gold that could have allowed the gang to finally live the life Dutch had promised them once the gold was sold. But then there was Micah Bell, a gunman who, to be honest, only Dutch truly trusted. Micah had once saved Dutch's life before officially joining the gang, during a deal gone wrong where Dutch was nearly killed while trying to sell stolen gold in a bar. That moment earned Micah his place. It was Micah who suggested changing the plan, replacing the riverboat escape with a ferry. The payoff will be bigger, but the risk was far greater. And sure enough, the heist ended in a disaster. Agents of the Pinkerton National Detective Agency arrived far sooner than expected and ambushed the gang. In the chaos, Dutch shot a defenseless young woman, Haiti McCourt, in the head. Forced to flee, the gang escaped into the snowy mountains of Amberino, which is where Red Dead Redemption 2 truly begins. The events of the Blackwater massacre deeply shook Hosea Matthews' faith in Dutch, though he later admits that his belief in their mission had been dying long before Blackwater ever happened. From this point on, cracks begin to form within the gang. We watch Arthur Morgan repeatedly ask Dutch what truly happened in Blackwater, and we watch Dutch avoid the question every single time, using simple, rehearsed phrases to deflect suspicion.
What really went down back there on that boat? We missed you. That's what happened. Come on.
And yet, despite everything, Dutch was still seen as a good leader. He always had been. He knew how to speak when people needed reassurance. He knew how to inspire trust and belief, even after Blackwater.
We ain't done yet.
And for many of them, loyalty to Dutch was all they ever had known. Most of the gang have been with him since childhood, saved by him, fed, clothed. Basically, he gave them a purpose. So supporting Dutch wasn't a choice, it was their identity. But as time passed, it became impossible to ignore that something wasn't right. The direction they were heading after Blackwater felt different. So the simple question is this: had Dutch always been this way, or had time simply revealed who he truly was? And to answer that, we have to briefly look at Dutch before the gang ever existed. Born in the mid-1850s near Philadelphia, Dutch was raised by a mother of English descent and a father of Dutch's ancestry. His father fought for the Union during the American Civil War and was killed in battle in Pennsylvania, a loss that left Dutch with a lasting resentment towards the South. He was a disobedient child, often clashing with his mother, and eventually ran away from home at the age of 15. Without a parental figure, Dutch educated himself, and from that self-education came the philosophy he would later preach above all else: freedom, independence, and living outside the system. But to pursue that ideal, Dutch turned to crime, eventually forming the van der Linde gang. And in those early years, he wasn't alone. There were many outlaw gangs living the same way, but the difference was this: by the time Red Dead Redemption 2 begins, the world was changing, and Dutch wasn't. The game takes place at the very end of the American frontier era, just before the turn of the 20th century, a time of massive change and growing conflict in the United States. Nothing was the same anymore, and this became Dutch's greatest obstacle. Even though the gang was still able to pull off jobs, despite the growing numbers of close calls, every success only created more enemies, and that freedom Dutch kept promising began to feel further away with every move they made. The problem was that Dutch slowly began turning the idea of loyalty into something else entirely. Doubt became betrayal. Throughout the game, Dutch constantly asked if you trust him.
Arthur, do you have my back?
Always, Dutch.
But the moment he's advised to change course by the people closest to him, he immediately plays the trust me card, kinda like deflection. This is exactly why Hosea Matthews was so essential to the gang. Hosea believed in laying low, sticking to the plan, and continuing west, towards the future Dutch had always talked about. But Dutch kept leading them east, towards more trouble, attention, and the very world he claimed to reject. And as the country modernized, so did the methods of control. Like I said, the government introduced organized forces like the Pinkerton National Detective Agency, literally tasked with hunting down outlaws who no longer fit into this new way of life. And Dutch quickly became one of their main targets. Yet instead of adapting, Dutch just kept escalating. Every robbery, conflict, or burned bridge began to echo back at them, harder each time. And that reckoning finally comes during the Saint Denis bank robbery. Hosea repeatedly warned Dutch that the job wasn't right. The city was too powerful, too connected, and way too dangerous. But Dutch ignored him, and the result was catastrophic. Lenny Summers was killed, someone who could have become the next Hosea, someone who might have kept Dutch grounded. And the most unsettling is how little Dutch seems to react in this part. This wasn't a sudden change, it was the same slow shift we've been watching all along. One that, like Arthur, we didn't fully recognize until we were already too deep. There's an important idea buried here. No matter how many enemies Dutch killed, that cycle never stopped. Kill a Pinkerton, another one takes his place. Kill Leviticus Cornwall, and someone else just fills the void. Dutch believed he could fight that change with force, but change doesn't fight back. It simply replaces you. And tragically, it took Dutch until the very last moment of his life to understand that. By chapter 6, the cracks are impossible to ignore. Arthur Morgan keeps telling Dutch that they aren't good at pulling scores anymore, that maybe there's a more rational way forward. But standing on the other side is Micah Bell, and slowly, Dutch begins listening to Micah more than Arthur.
Dutch, it's just a girl.
You're right. Micah, it pains me to say it, Arthur, but he's right.
Dutch!
Come on, boys.
Yeah! Well, I guess that's that then.
This shift comes from a deep sense of betrayal Dutch feels towards certain members of the gang, especially Arthur and John Marston. They begin making decisions behind Dutch's back, but not out of malice, but because they can see what Dutch can't. He's no longer the leader he once was. Worse, he's now doing the very things he taught them to never do, killing in cold blood, stealing aimlessly, and abandoning any sense of restraint. In truth, the gang becomes collateral damage in Dutch's mental decline. Every reckless plan is born out of desperation, a final attempt to prove that this outlaw lifestyle is still valid, even when everyone else knows it's already dead. The Wapiti incident is a perfect example. Dutch literally manipulates the Native Americans into starting a war with the US military, all to create enough noise for one last score. By this point, morality is completely gone. Dutch trusts no one. He believes he alone can decide who will betray him, even killing an innocent woman simply because he thinks she might.
Hey now.
Dutch, what are you doing?
Jesus. Easy, Dutch. What was that?
Horrible old crone.
But you killed her.
She was gonna betray us, Arthur. Couldn't you tell?
No.
Well, I got some Spanish. She was.
You keep killing folk, Dutch.
I am just trying to make sure that some of us survive, Arthur. Now, shall we proceed?
Yes.
And here's the tragedy. Everyone sees the truth except Dutch. Just like the player, the rest of the gang understands what's happening. And sure enough, Micah, the one no one ever trusted, is revealed to be working with the Pinkertons, feeding them the gang's location every time they moved. Arthur told Dutch, John told Dutch, but guess what Dutch did? Refused to listen. And the reason is actually simple. Micah just never questioned him. He supported every idea, no matter how violent or reckless. Micah didn't care where things led. Destruction was always the point. Dutch's refusal to accept that the world had moved on only poured more fuel onto that fire. It all reaches its breaking point when Dutch does the one thing that removes any remaining doubt. He abandons Arthur and leaves him to die.
He got one! A white one! Dad? I need help! I need help!
From there, the gang finally collapses into what it had been becoming all along, a group of broken, demoralized people just trying to survive, all because one man could not accept being wrong. Arthur, knowing he's dying from tuberculosis, he understands that there is no future left in the gang. He urges people to leave, to save themselves. What once felt like a family is now only a path to death. Some listened, some stayed. And Arthur's story ends in a bittersweet acceptance, doing what little good he still can before it's over.
I gave you all I had. I did. Come on. Dutch. John made it. He's the only one. The rest of us...
Dutch and Micah vanish, becoming fugitives for the next 8 years, until one day, Sadie Adler, Charles Smith, and John finally track Micah down, fulfilling Arthur's last wish. And in the end, it's Dutch himself who kills Micah, the man he chose over his family, the man he realizes far too late was never worth trusting. So to answer the question, if he's always been bad or not, I don't think so. He always took care of the gang and kept bringing people around him that he thought needed help. And those words he kept using for freedom and independency were actually really inspiring. Although it was an impossible lifestyle to accomplish, it made people believe. It made the Van der Linde gang believe. The problem that changed this course of narrative was time. He couldn't fathom the idea that he was being left behind. And as a leader like he was, he didn't want this change to shift his reputation and knowledge. He said himself on his last minutes that he couldn't do it. But like I just said, it took him all the way to his last minute to finally admit this. This gives you the answer. His intentions were never really wrong, but the battle with himself was just a way bigger opponent that he thought. And it was great to realize that this character can make you feel a lot of things. Betrayal, empathy, doubts, laughter, all of this in one person. And this is why I will always say that Dutch Van der Linde will always be the richest character writing Rockstar has ever pulled. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you can join me on this beautiful journey of character story writing.
Super agents. I'd love to meet one. It's just talk.
I'm sure it is, but I couldn't.